Hey there, curious minds. Welcome back to Deep Dive. Today, we're doing a shortcut, really, getting you well informed on a pretty critical and often complex topic. We've got this stack of great sources, articles, research, notes, you name it, all focused on one specific force, India's Rashtriya Rifles. Our mission to sort of unpack its journey from its origins right up to its latest big strategic shift. So what's the main story here? What are we digging into?
Well, what's really fascinating, I think, is that the Rashtriya Rifles, the RR, it wasn't just, another regiment added to the list. It was purpose-built back in 1990. A direct response, really, to a new kind of threat, this low-intensity asymmetric war that was ramping up, specifically the violence in Jammu and Kashmir. This wasn't your standard battlefield stuff. We're talking non-state actors, guerrilla tactics, melting into the population. So its creation, it really marked a fundamental shift in India's thinking on internal security, a move towards specialized counterinsurgency. Very different skills needed.
Okay, yeah, let's unpack that structure then. Because the RR isn't conventional, is it? Not like a permanent regiment. The personnel, they're volunteers, pulled from all over the Indian Army.
Exactly, yeah, drawn from across the entire army.
And they serve, what, a temporary 30-month tour? After some really specific, tough counterinsurgency training? That's a unique model.
Precisely. But here's where it gets really interesting and kind of complicated. This super effective force, right from the start, it was officially set up as a temporary force.
Temporary? Wow.
Yeah, think about that clash. A vital long-term mission against a persistent threat, but with this temporary tag hanging over it. And this wasn't just some administrative footnote. It caused decades of arguments, big fights over funding. At one point, around 2005, there was even a serious suggestion to just disband it altogether.
No way.
Yeah. So it raises this really key question for us and for you listening. How does that kind of temporary status mess with such a permanent critical mission? It meant, constant budget pressure, maybe difficulty attracting the best people long term, and definitely political uncertainty.
That administrative limbo is just wild.
Yeah.
So operationally, how did they manage? Our sources mentioned they're split into 5 counterinsurgency forces, CIFs, like Victor Force, Kilo Force.
Yeah.
Covering specific areas.
That structure allowed them to be flexible, region-focused, decentralized.
And there's been a big change recently, it seems.
Indeed, yeah, quite significant. In 2021, the headquarters moved, the leadership role was kind of adjusted. Yeah. And if you connect the dots, look at the bigger picture, it really signaled a deliberate shift, retasking, aligning the RR much more towards, say, border security, dealing with infiltration, not just internal counterterrorism inside J&K. It reflects how things on the ground have changed.
Right. And it's not just about combat, is it? Their doctrine, it emphasizes hearts and minds, too. Civic action, medical camps, training.
Oh, absolutely critical. That dual approach is textbook counterinsurgency, winning over locals, improving lives. That gives you intelligence, cooperation, often way more effective than just force. But yeah, there's the other side. They operate under the Armed Forces Special Powers Act, AFSPA, which gives them broad powers, arrest without warrant, legal protection. Seen as necessary for security by some, but
that's controversial.
Hugely controversial. Leads to accusations, human rights concerns, local resentment, and that directly pushes against the hearts and minds work. It's a very, very tricky balance.
Yeah, I can see that. And despite all these complexities, their track record, their legacy, it's pretty undeniable. They're often called the most decorated branch of the Indian Army. So many gallantry awards. By 2015, the numbers were like over 16,000 terrorists neutralized. Kilo Force area saw maybe a 30% drop in violence. Impressive stuff.
The operational successes, the sheer number of decorations, they speak for themselves, definitely. The valor is clear.
But given those AFSPA controversies and the nature of the conflict, did they face specific blowback? Criticism, despite the wins?
Oh, certainly. I mean, counterinsurgency means operating right among the population. Everything is under a microscope. So while the successes are there, those specific allegations linked to AFSPA powers, historically, they've always created huge challenges for public trust, even while they were making areas safer. It's that constant tightrope walk,
Which brings us right up to now and this big shift you mentioned. The government is pulling the RR back from urban areas in J&K. The assessment is that peace has improved enough. So what does this actually mean for their future, for the region?
It means a major pivot, a real change in focus. The RR is being systematically moved, retasked to the line of control to the international borders, primarily to counter infiltration now.
So moving away from the internal role.
Pretty much. Other forces, local police, the CRPF, they're stepping up to handle internal security more. It signals a kind of normalization within J&K, and it applies the RR's specialized skills to a more traditional military role. Border defense, tackling external threats, not internal ones.
Wow. What an incredible arc for the Rashtriya rifles. From, like you said, a temporary fix
Yeah,
to being this absolute cornerstone of India's security setup. Always adapting.
absolutely. Their motto, Drita Arvirta, determination and valor, it really sums them up, I think. And as they pivot now, moving to these border duties, it does leave us with a bit of a provocative thought, doesn't it? How does that original temporary legal status designed for an internal role, how does that continue to affect its strategy, its flexibility, its long-term place, now that it's taking on these permanent border protection jobs? Something for you, the listener, to maybe mull over. Thinking about military evolution strategy, how forces adapt, or maybe how their past shapes their future.